this isn't really about peace, because just days ago, these talks already failed. And now suddenly, the United Nations says they could restart again. But nothing fundamental has changed. The same tensions are still there. The same military pressure is still building. So the real question is, why push for talks again right now? Because behind this move, there's a strategic calculation unfolding, and it could decide whether this turns into diplomacy. Or something much bigger. Here's what we know right now. The United Nations Secretary General has signaled that talks between the United States and Iran could resume. And according to early reports, this could happen very soon, possibly within days. But this didn't come out of nowhere, because just recently, negotiations had already collapsed. Tensions were rising, military pressure was increasing, and both sides were moving further apart, not closer. So this sudden shift is not as simple as it looks. To understand this, you have to look at the bigger picture. Right now, the United States is trying to control escalation, not just politically, but economically, because any serious conflict with Iran would immediately impact global oil supply. And that means higher prices, global pressure, and economic instability. At the same time, Iran is not backing down. Their position hasn't changed. Their strategy hasn't changed. And their leverage in the region is still very real. So what we're seeing is not peace efforts. It's pressure management, an attempt to slow things down, without actually solving the core problem. But there's another layer here that most people are missing. These talks are not happening in isolation. There's a mediator involved. There's a country working behind the scenes to bring both sides back to the table. And this changes the dynamic completely, because now this is not just about the US and Iran. It's about influence, control, and positioning in a much larger geopolitical game. And when multiple players get involved, things become far less predictable. Here's where things get dangerous. If these talks fail again, the consequences won't just be diplomatic. They could trigger a rapid escalation. We're talking about increased military presence, more aggressive positioning, and a much higher risk of direct confrontation, because both sides are already under pressure. And when negotiations fail under pressure, the next move is rarely calm. It's reactive and often unpredictable. Secretary Kai says, so now everything depends on what happens next. If talks resume and hold, this could temporarily stabilize the situation. But if they break down again, we could be looking at a very different scenario, one that moves beyond negotiations and into something much harder to control. Because right now, this isn't just diplomacy. It's a turning point. So the question is, do you think these talks will actually work? Or are we just seeing a pause before something bigger? Let me know what you think. But this situation doesn't stay between the United States and Iran. It spreads. Because one of the biggest pressure points here is energy. If tensions increase, oil supply routes could be disrupted. And that affects everything, from fuel prices, to global markets, to economic stability in multiple regions. So even countries that are not directly involved. will feel the impact. And that's why this situation matters far beyond the region itself. There's also a timing factor here that's important. These talks are not happening randomly. They're happening at a moment when pressure is already high, when risks are already building, and when both sides are trying to avoid losing control of the situation. So restarting talks right now is not just about diplomacy. It's about buying time. Time to reposition, time to calculate the next move, and time to avoid a situation that could spiral too fast.